Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So this is our 6-month update and final review on the Epiphone SG Pro 400. I bought this back in August of 2017 from Long McQuaid for, if I remember right, is about $539 in tax, and it's a great guitar. I'm really loving this thing. So anyways, I've had no tuning stability issues with this guitar. I'm still using the factory strings, believe it or not. They're still alive and kicking, doing well, tuning nice, staying in tune really well. I really don't have anything to really complain about this guitar other than the one complaint I did have was with the control knobs. They're like plastic, right? They looked good with the guitar, but, you know, these have coil tappers, so when I'd pull up, one of the knobs would come right off, and that kind of sucked. But I was planning on switching them and upgrading them anyway, so I didn't even bother to, crab at Long McQuaid about it and say, hey, I got a bad knob on this thing. You want to replace it? I don't care. I mean, it's a cheap part, and I was upgrading anyway. I really not a huge fan of plastic knobs. I mean, certain guitars, yeah, okay, leave them on there. We're all good, but other guitars, I like to change them up because I like to make it more of my guitar, of what I like on it, right? I mean, to me, you can't buy your dream guitar unless you have it actually built for you from scratch, or you order something that's your dream guitar from like a custom shop, like through Fender or whoever, and then you could get the guitar of your dreams that way and go ka-ching, really big money too. Or you could just buy a guitar, and if you don't really like the color to begin with, then just strip it, and change the color if you want. A lot of people actually do that. I've even gotten guitars. I pick them up, and they're a little rough shape, especially used guitars, and then I'll automatically strip them down and repaint them or stain them, whatever, and dress them up to be what I want them to be. You know what I mean? Not that it's a dream guitar or anything in the end, but it's a lot nicer than what it started as. This particular guitar, on the other hand, I've said it before, I'm not a huge fan of red, but this is a red color that I like. It's a translucent red. I can still see all the wood grain, which is really nice. And it is an SG, which is kind of like an Angus Young thing for me. I'm a bit of an AC/DC fan to a certain point. I like a lot of their music, just not all of their music. Some stuff I won't even listen to. So I'm not a huge, massive, worship type of fan by any means of any group. But I do like certain guitar players, and I'm not out to try and mimic Angus Young either. I really could care less about getting even anywhere near close to his tone, and I don't devote my life to doing songs from other groups, like it's not my thing where I gotta play like Hendrix or I gotta play like Stevie Vai or any of them guys. You know what I mean? It's not my thing. I like to have my own sound and my own kind of thing, and I like to just jam out and do stuff on the fly and type of thing. And I like a bit of blues stuff too. That's kind of my sort of thing that I like to do. I like to jam out with that stuff and make up stuff with it. That's me, and but I like a guitar to sound good. That's a big thing for me. And when I shop for a guitar, I'll go through whatever guitars are available to me because I am a lefty and there's not a lot of choices in store usually. Some, and there are some expensive ones that are in there for lefties. And I'm like, do I really need to justify the expense? What am I getting for my money here? And I think about it, and I'm like, well, I can buy a cheaper guitar and just, do it up any way I want and spend a hell of a lot less money and still get what I want in the end. But of course, it takes skills to have that sort of ability. And there's a lot of people who don't. Well, okay, but I do, so I can actually pull that off if I want. And there's a lot of people that don't, so they'll spend the extra money, or they'll order a custom shop guitar from a company, and that's just fine too. That's entirely everybody's choice how they want to do things in life, and that's cool, you know. Just like I do what I do, right? Now, this does have vintage wound coil tapping pickups, so you can split them and turn them into singles. So you can have one coil tapped as a single, one as a hum. Both as humbuckers. Both as single coils. You know, and then of course we have our neck pickup as a single coil. And as a humbucker. You know, and so you can mix up the sounds a lot with this guitar. So there is kind of a nice thing about now having coil tapping pickups in a lot of guitars out there, actually. Epiphone's not the only one doing it. A lot of other companies are too. And I think it's a really nice feature to have. But you have to want that feature. Like I'm still after a Les Paul from Epiphone, but I'm not gonna get the one with the vintage coil tapper pickups in it. I would prefer zebra pickups. You know, something like an Alnico 5, for example, for humbuckers, and that's what I would want in a Les Paul. You know, be it from an Epiphone or some other brand, just not a Gibson. Sorry, I'm not a Gibson fan by any means. And besides, Gibson's in so much hot water right now, it's crazy. And, you know, not to mention, Gibsons do have a tuning stability problem, which Epiphones have too, or had, I should say. They've lessened the back rake even on this model, so it's a lot straighter. And so I have had no tuning stability issues on this, even bending strings, and I'm still on the factory strings from when I took it off the shelf at the music store and tried it out. And of course I bought it that day too. You know, so it's still using the same 10 gauge strings that came with it from the factory, and they're just amazingly staying on there, you know. But even changing your strings can change the tone of your guitar. So if you like what you heard to start with, then you would want to stay with that same exact, not only the brand of strings, but the model of those strings, okay? And gauge and so on. And then you stay and you retain that same tone. Because that's not just your strings, it's also your pickups too. But you change your string type, you will change the sound of these pickups. It's kind of something that happens. And it could go for the better or it could go for the worse. In a lot of cases, it actually does go for the worse, but, you know, it all depends, I guess, on the individuals, right? So it's like changing pickups, too. I'm not a fan of it, but I have put pickups, hot rail, humbucker, coil splitters into my one Strat and my new Strat that has Alnico pickups in it, which I believe are probably Alnico 1s. I'm actually, I just ordered a set of Alnico 5s for it, and I'm going to switch them into that because I like the sound of the 5s a lot better than the 1s. I'm having a lot of issues with pedal compatibility too with the Alnico 1s, where very few of my pedals work well with them. So I'm kind of a little disappointed there, but as a clean sound through the amp, oh, they're great. They're cat's ass, you know. But and this guitar, the pickups work well with pretty much everything that I have for pedals. Works pretty decently too. I've got the Boss overdrive, and I'm going to let you hear the overdrive from Boss, as well as the DS1, I believe it is that I have. Yeah, DS1. So this is the Super Overdrive SD1. Now that's just a totally dry signal too. I turned off the reverb, delay, and everything on the Boss amp. Now this is the DS1. And of course, clean tone. Just a wonderful sounding instrument, you know, wonderful playing too, super, super low action on this. Just a fantastic guitar and stays in tune great. So I am looking forward to getting one of the newer model Les Pauls that has, you know, either the pickups I want or something close enough to it that I like the sound of. If I don't really like the sound, I'll still buy it anyways and just swap out the pickups in that case. You know, like I did with my one Strat. I swapped them out for something better. But anyways, so yeah, great guitar, very awesome. If you're looking for an SG and you don't want to spend a ton of money, look at the SG Pro 400. It is a really nice guitar, left or right-handed. It is the same price, you know, so you're not going to pay anything extra just because you bought a lefty. You know, what you do get in the right-handed is more variety of colors, of course, but who cares? You know, I mean, a color is a color, and, you know, my primary focus on a guitar is not the color so much. It's how well does it play? You know, how are the fret ends? Are they sharp? Are they smooth? How well does it tune? How well does it stay in tune? You know, overall, does it sound great on a variety of different amps, too? Will I still like that tone on different amps? Because let's face it, a lot of us plug into different amps all the time. And, you know, sometimes we just, you know, we burn out an amp and we get a new one. It's like we have no idea if is my guitar going to run with that. So it's kind of the idea is, you know, take your favorite go-to axe or two with you to a music store too and try out a variety of amps if you're looking for a new amp. And then this way you make sure that you still get an amp that's going to work with your guitar, because you can have all the pedals out there in the world with all the best settings. You can, you know, and if your guitar does not get along with an amp, it's not going to go for you, you know, and people will blame the guitar. And it's not the guitar, it's the amp. And all amps are voiced differently. They all have different, you know, quality controls in them, different quality levels of how well they were put together and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Now, I find that the SG pairs extremely well with the Boss Katana 100 1x12, which I have behind me, as well as the Roland Cube 60 COSM. Works fairly decent with the vintage amps like your PV Rages, the Edition 20 as well. I haven't tried it on a Bandit, so I don't know. So there's a few PV amps that it'll work well with. And it's all about what that tone is you're going after too, right? Like for certain types of music, if you want a more vintage tone, you need an amp that can produce that. And, you know, in the case of my amp collection, the oldest vintage piece of kit I've got is my old Edition 20 amp, and it's kind of a really crispy amp, especially on a Strat, you know, and it's got its place, you know, it does, you know, and it does take well to pedals too, and that's the other thing. Not all amps will take well to pedals, but that's a whole other thing. But I definitely, this has my vote of confidence completely. I really like the guitar. I think you would too. If you're looking for an SG, look at the Epiphone. It does have a lot less back rake than your Gibson at way less money. Better tuning stability right out of the box. Nice, sick, low action on it. Comes with 10 gauge strings from the factory too, which, you know, I generally run 9s, but this came with 10s, and it's going to stay with 10s because I just love how it plays with 10s. That won't convince me to go 10s on my other guitars, though, because I love them with 9s, and they're set up really sick with 9s. So I would never change those to 10s. But this one, that's what it came with. That's what it stays with. Same as the others. But, yeah, overall, pretty awesome axe, guys. Pretty awesome. Really like it. So feel free, check through the rest of the channel. Check out my main review on this, too. But I can tell you honestly that I think it's worth every single penny of what I paid. Now, the money when I quote it on my channel is always Canadian funds that I pay for stuff, and because I am in Canada, I am a Canadian, and yes, we do pay a little bit more because of the dollar difference, but hey, every country has their dollar differences. Some people have to pay a lot more than we do, too. But anyway, the tuners are good. I would want to upgrade those down the road to some Grovers or something else. but I want a super high turn ratio tuner. You know, if I can find something that's about 32 to 1, I'd be really stoked. But anyways, yeah. So there you go. That's my final verdict on this thing. I say it's a win-win. I say buy it if you like it, and you'll definitely enjoy this axe. So catch you later, and have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.